if only for a time, that those who live with us are our brothers, and surely we can begin to work a little harder to bind up the wounds among us and to become in our hearts brothers and countrymen once again.
Hello there, I'm very grateful for the time you've given me today. Do you know what Article 1 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights says? It says all human beings are born free and equal, or endowed with reason and conscience, and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. That's a beautiful message, isn't it? Yet, younger generations have had their ideas and emotions to become undermined. However, two men that championed each individual's ideas and voices were Robert F. Kennedy and Fred Rogers. Fred Rogers, or Mr. Rogers, was an American TV show personality who oriented his show towards children. However, his message and voice struck a chords with all, as his kind, comforting tone chose to love and forgive rather than shun and insult.
Whether you're first or middle or last, what's important is that you're you, and people can like you just the way you are.
Mr. Rogers' ability to hone in on complicated subjects for a child and transform them into a positive learning experience empowered his audience to love others and themselves. And from the lessons he gave to children and the world, he deeply encouraged everyone to accept that they are loved and should always love others. The lives we had were wonderful just the way they were, and could always be used to help others find their voice.
The truth is inside of us. And it's wonderful when we have the courage to tell it. It's not so much what we have in this life that matters. It's what we do with what we have.
While Mr. Rogers told us how to find our voice, Robert F. Kennedy told us how to use our voice.
Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance.
Mr. Rogers once said, "If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of." His philosophy in life was simple. Everyone has worth and purpose just the way they are.
I think everybody longs to be loved. And consequently, the greatest thing that we can do is to help somebody know that they're loved and capable of loving.
Mr. Rogers advocated for individuals to share their ideas, but not in a manner that was violent or potentially hurtful. His most infamous message was with Officer Clemens, who played an African-American police officer on his show. Mr. Rogers simply had a footbath with Officer Clemens where he would relax in a small tub washing his feet with him. However, this was Mr. Rogers' way of speaking out against the rampant racism and prejudices throughout the American South in the 1970s. But Mr. Rogers didn't choose to shout or scream out against those committing the crimes. He showed them a new path, one of love and compassion. Robert F. Kennedy was no different.
What we need in the United States is not division. What we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
Mr. Rogers once said, "Peace means far more than the opposite of war. Peace, like love or like hope, is an action one can take, something that can be done, not just something that might arrive."
You don't ever have to do anything sensational for people to love you. When I say it's you I like, I'm talking about that deep part of you that allows you to stand for those things without which humankind cannot survive. Love that conquers hate. Peace that rises triumphant over war. And justice that proves more powerful than greed.
Times now are difficult, but difficult times are the perfect windows for change. I'm part of Leo Club, a volunteer organization. This year, we were able to donate $900 to 3 different organizations that help give food and supplies to those struggling during the COVID-19 crisis. Just a couple hours of our time and we were able to help many others. It doesn't take much to do what's right, and when you're done, you'll have made a new friend. That's all for me. Have a good day now. Bye-bye.